Hello, welcome back. This is Steve, YouTube English videos, Cambridge B2 C1, following on from last week's video in which we looked at speaking parts 1 and 2 with some model questions and some use of English like in the exam. Trying to give you some expressions that you could use in the speaking and trying to mix up your practice for different parts. We are now doing parts 3 and 4, which is what you are looking at now, isn't it? This is part 3 for B2, discussing different options with your partner, having a conversation for 2 minutes, and then trying to make a decision for 1 minute. Here is a sample question. Imagine that you have had a long week at work and now you want to relax on Sunday. Here are some different activities for a lazy Sunday. Talk together about why these activities would be good for a lazy Sunday. And you have that conversation. And you watch, if you've watched my videos, if you've watched other videos, if you've practiced it in class, you know that the main thing is to say something about each point, say something interesting, say something relevant, and then pass on the conversation and respond to what your partner says. Conversation skills, that's what people do, isn't it? They listen to other people and they make their own interesting contributions so that we have a natural, interesting conversation, which is what they want you to do in English in part 3. So pause the video, try and do it, say things like, I love playing board games. It's a great way to pass the time. You get lost in a little world with friends and family. What do you think? Yes, but sometimes it takes too long and it can be a bit difficult. So maybe something else would be better. What about? And we continue that conversation. And you imagine in your mind a nice lazy Sunday that we all appreciate. So try and do it, talk for 2 minutes, have a 1 minute decision. If you're doing this in class, in pairs, if you're doing it by yourself, well, you can still practice some of it. You can record yourself. You can find someone on a conversation exchange website or someone else who's doing the exam to try and do it with you. And then here's what I'd like to do. Because we're doing speaking part 3, we're going to do use of English part 3. I have written a little dialogue. Again, me, all my work, no artificial intelligence here, trying to make it real as people might actually talk, not like an AI. Conversation between A and B, using some of these typical tricks that you know, like having a conversation, asking questions, responding. Yes, absolutely. And then also making a decision. So there's no use of English questions there, but it's worth reading anyway, because this is a good function for the exam. I don't think we have a clear idea. I guess. Okay. Yes, we agree. Good. Anyway, it's use of English part 3 now. So what you need to do is for option 1, question 1, take the word choose, the verb, the infinitive, and change it to a different word using that root. For example, active activities. Yeah, active is the root of activities. Pause the video, take a minute. These are B2 level transformations that you might be expected to do. And as always, I'm going to tell you the answers. You're going to note down the answers because you are a serious student taking notes for use of English part 3 in your use of English part 3 document or part of your folder or however you organize your work. And you're going to write down the transformations and you're going to remember them because these can be on lots of different B2 C1 exams. Anyway, here we go. Number 1, that's going to be choice. The noun of choose is choice. Number 2, easily, an adverb. Quite an easy question. Number 3, context. It's unhealthy to stare at a screen all day. I think we all agree. Doctors have figured this out. Number 4, you get, we need an adjective. You get competitive. Competitive with an I there. Number 5, measurement words. I have a whole video on this. I have a video on everything by now. I don't know, I've been doing too many videos. But measurement words, right? Deep, depth, strong, strength. All these words. Vary, variety. What was the one I saw yesterday that was very good? Grow, growth. Yeah, slightly irregular. Length. The length of the games is a problem. Number 6 and number 7. Here I've tried to include some useful phrases specifically for part 3. The expressions you could use on part 3. In comparison. Spanish people sometimes get this wrong because it's slightly different from Spanish, isn't it? But comparison is not shun, it's comparison. Obviously, you are comparing different options. In comparison is a great linking phrase. Number 7, context. Person A says baking a cake is simple and satisfying. Person B says it's fun. So they don't disagree. I don't disagree. Just a nice way of showing that you've got a slightly wider range of vocabulary than saying yes, no. Instead of saying yes, I don't disagree. if you have the knowledge to do it, it could be fun. And then, as we said, we make our decision for the second minute. So there we go. That's use of English part 3 and speaking part 3 for B2. Let's continue practicing with a C1 question. Same format, same time. Topics are going to be slightly more advanced. You are expected to be able to talk about, for example, what skills will be necessary for jobs in the future, and talk together about why these skills would be necessary for future jobs. It's a tough question. Pause the video. If you've got someone with you, do it. Try and think what you would say if you're by yourself and have a nice imaginary conversation in your head. What points would you make? Why are these things necessary? Can you do that key skill of making a quick, clear, relevant point and then passing on the conversation? Why is time management important? Because, do you see what I mean? Yes. And then we continue. Try and do it. And let's do our use of English, part 3 again. This time I've just got part of the dialogue, because 2 minutes would be quite long at C1, but I've got part of the dialogue with these kind of typical points that you should be making for this topic. And if you are speaking at a very high level for C1, hopefully you will be using some of these kind of words that you can transform to show that you've got that range of vocabulary and that skill of using vocabulary correctly. Pause the video, try and transform these words, and here come the answers, which you will note down as I keep saying. It will be especially important. Irregular, isn't it? Special is the adjective, especially is the adverb. Talking about jobs, we can have boring, repetitive jobs. A bit of a specific bit of vocab for this topic. Show me that you've got some interesting vocab for each topic. Repetitive jobs. Number 3, nice expression for part 3 because you're comparing things. Well, similarly, this one is going to be my same point. Number 4, context. How will the job market be if you start in medicine and end up in engineering? It will be unpredictable. Negatives. Always on part 3 of use of English, negatives. Number 5 and number 6, these are the two that I think would be really impressive if you could use in your speaking when you are referring to one of the different options. Well, with reference to, great linking expression to introduce a new point. And if you think something is very obvious, if you think you're making a clear, obvious point, well, then that's a given. Well, that's a given. Everyone needs that skill. Well, that's a given. Of course it would be. Very nice expression to say something is clear and obvious. One that I haven't seen so much in Use of English Part 3, but sometimes they have unpredictable words like that you need to know in that context. Number 7, you have flexibility. And number 8, how do you need to use your time if you are doing a good job? How do you do it? We need an adverb. It's going to be using it productively. You should be productive. You should use your time productively. So there we go for some Use of English Part 3 on Speaking Part 3. You can continue practicing this because it is quite interesting to make your own. Think of a scenario and then think of different options that could apply to that scenario. Maybe about health, about healthy lifestyles, about healthy food, this kind of things, about how people can stay healthy or not stay healthy, and different scenarios and different options related to that. Or about the media and how people watch things, or what people watch, or genres, or ways of spending time in the media, and so on. And even special occasions. This is a good one for C1. Things like big moments in your life and how people feel, or different ways of spending time and how you feel, that kind of thing. So those would be nice topics for you to make them and practice yourself to really understand how this exam works and to be more confident and comfortable when you're doing it. Right, let's move on to part 4. So part 4 is going to be long-term questions, as in you can take a bit more time answering them, 30-40 seconds, and you can talk with your partner a bit if they open up the conversation, if they don't say your name specifically. And you might have questions like this. If we're doing that B2 exam about lazy Sunday activities, then we would have questions related to free time, relaxing time, hobbies, going out, right? Because it's a lazy Sunday, so those are the ideas there. And here's some of the things that you might be expected to say. I'm not going to do all of these because that will take ages. But if I'm talking about relaxing weekend or busy weekend, well, what I need to do is give examples, don't I think. Because a relaxing weekend for me would maybe involve going to the beach with my parents-in-law so that they can look after the baby a bit and I can just sit on the beach and read. A busy weekend might be staying at home and cleaning the house and maybe going shopping because we need to buy some things to do some DIY. and then trying to fix the bathroom because there's a pipe that keeps leaking water. And this is all true, obviously. That's why I'm speaking fluently, because I'm saying things that are true. And because I'm a native speaker, I have the ability to express those ideas clearly and fluently. That's the level you want to get to. And the theory is the same. Picture things in your head, describe, speak. And we do the same for the rest of these. How did you get interested in running? Well, it was because I wasn't very happy with where I was in my life 15 years ago. So I thought I'd try running, and it worked. It gave me some direction in life, and it was a really important moment for me to have a goal and to get up every morning and typical things like that. After you've done that and you've done lots of speaking, we can do some use of English part 4 on these same topics. Things you might say about going out and about your interests and about hobbies and about eating out. What you need to do is pause the video and then complete the sentence so it means the same as the first one, using 5 words maximum for B2. Here come the answers. Correct them. Think about why they're right or not right. If it's unusual, then I hardly ever do it. And if I don't go out, then I hardly ever leave the house. That's going to be the best way of saying that in the 5-word limit. Despite and although. So despite my interest, we can't say although my interest, can we? Although is followed by a verb phrase. Although I am interested. But we're not saying interested, we're saying fascinated. And you're not fascinated in, you're fascinated by something. So those are the 2 marks there. If I'm too scared, I'm not brave enough, right? And we can say, I don't think I would be, or I am brave enough. Similar if we want to keep it would be, but I think I am is also acceptable. And if I don't know which dish, then I have no idea. Have no idea which dish to order. Oh dear, we got a problem. We can't say which dish, so we have to say, I have no idea. Relative pronoun, what to order. Okay, there we go. 8 marks there for use of English part 2. And let's do the same for C1. This time the questions are about jobs, because we had a part 3 about jobs and in the future and skills you need. And here we have some questions that you might be expected to answer at C1, such as how important is a university degree nowadays, where we might say things like, unfortunately, it is still necessary for many jobs. You still need a piece of paper proving that you went to university. Personally, I think that you don't learn so many useful skills at university. So maybe the system is not perfect, because the real skills that you need, you learn in other situations, in work or in social situations. But you still need the piece of paper. What do you think? And then you can ask your partner, or you can open it up and so on. Have a think about these questions, and we'll move on to use of English part 4. Pause the video. 6 words max now, because we're in C1. Typical use of English part 4 grammar points. Here come the answers. First question is going to be passive, isn't it? Everybody thought. Well, it was thought. Except we're not saying thought, we're saying regarded. And how do we use regarded? Something is regarded as essential. So as was the little point there to get your 2nd mark. Better salary in the past is a comparative, but we've gone from had to is. So now he is not, because in the past it was more, so now it's not as much, we could say. Not paid as much, not paid as well, not as well paid. All of those are possible. I hope that's clear. If it's not clear, leave a comment and I'll tell you how many marks you got. Number 3, this is a past modal, isn't it? A modal of deduction. If I'm sure something happened, then it must have happened. So she must have. And it's also a passive. She got the job. She must have been. Probably the easiest way is been hired. But you could also say in the 6-word limit, been given the job. That also fits. They're both okay. And the last one, a specific phrase here. If you really need to do something, then it's high time that you did it. Common phrase that you should have seen in your Cambridge B2 and C1 textbooks, because they love this for some reason. If it's high time I did it, then I really need to do it. And I need to fix it. I need to out the problem. Well, a phrasal verb with out, that means to fix it, is to sort out. If you sort out a problem, you fix a problem. So it's high time I sorted out that problem. There we go. There's your 8 marks for C1. I hope that was useful. You can, of course, make your own questions for part 4. They are just general, trying to make them interesting, trying to give people something to talk about questions on the kind of topics that we've seen in part 3. Thinking about specific aspects of it, if it's going out, then get a bit more specific, or related aspects. If it's work, then talk about education and skills and desires and ambitions and so on. Right, there we go. That's plenty of speaking use of English. Hope that was useful. Thank you. Goodbye.